Good morning, Vernon. Good to see you again.
Morning, Dr. Yang.
Joining us. Thank you. So, good morning to the world and to those on Facebook Live that are tuning in to this weekly session. So, today, the title of the 18th lecture is Deterministic Prophecies versus Random Free Will. So those that have been following my social media platforms will know that I posted the Clydesdale prophecy, which as a scientist, I don't just make prophecies because I threw some bones on the ground or read the tea leaves, and I'm not obviously making fun of people that does that. You know, that's beyond my scientific expertise to comment on that. But as a scientist, I use a method that are, let's just say, more on the technical side of things. So obviously the Bible code, for those that are not aware, was a mathematical algorithm that was developed in 1994 by a group of mathematicians. I guess they were bored or whatever, so they came up with an algorithm that did a letter sequencing search of the Holy Book of the Torah. So there were, before that, there were people that stated that obviously the Bible contains various coded secrets in there. So these mathematicians did a search and published a paper on it, on their finding. So guys, yeah, I'm not going to go into, you can Google that aspects of it, but pretty much I bought the software and I did a search of it just out of curiosity, just to see how what I could find out. And miraculously, and I use the word miraculously, I actually found Clydesdale. You can see it behind me, my book, which is obviously my path to God. I found it using that Bible code twice, actually, only twice in the Bible, and both times miraculously associated with God. And those, again, I don't want to go, you can always follow my social media platform on those prophecies that came up, and I made the prediction that one Clydesdale predicted the past and one Clydesdale predicted the coming future. So again, I'm not going to cover in the details of those kind of prophecies, but I wanted to take the opportunities to cover an aspect that is philosophically a deep question that a lot of humanity have asked, is whether we humans have free will. Because obviously the question is, if these prophecies are real, then what it is, why are we even bothered to get out of bed? It's like, everything's ordained, etc. So we should just lie in bed and just let everything happen, as it's meant to be. So I want to cover this subject matter, and again, I want to cover it in a scientific manner, because that's my background. So last week's lecture, as you may know, I discussed about the quantum mechanics, the science behind how that can explain our existence as a spirit form, spirit as in obviously vibrational waves, although those that take spirituality beyond ghosts and things, again, that's a different day, different topic. But that's how I'm going to describe the two part of philosophy, or not philosophy, so prophecies and free will. And I'm going to describe that on the description of the two mainstream science that was discovered last century. And that is obviously the deterministic aspects of relativity discovered, or, obviously developed by Einstein's theory of relativity, but also the equally most famous and well documented and proven quantum mechanics that was discovered, which is totally random. So now science is trying to find the ultimate theory of everything that combines both in one, deterministic and randomness. And not surprising, but they cannot do that. And simple answer to that is they're actually the same reality of our will, except we're looking at two sides of the coin. So it can never be be one for simple, well, they are one, but they're on opposite side of the coin of the same oneness that you're looking at. So they're already combined, and they're both the correct description of our reality. So it's the same with prophecies and free will. It's like, you may argue, well, we have prophecies, then we cannot have free will because everything's ordained. So that's why I'm sort of describing these two. One science describes everything as being determined, and one science describes everything as being random. So which is right? The reality is both are right, but what both describe is on different scale. So whereas the quantum world describes everything on the minuscule atomic scale, where everything exists as in last week's lecture, as quote, the spirit form, these vibrational form, on this microscopic scale. On the macroscopic scale is relativity, which describes that everything, you have all the parameters, then you could account for everything. Okay, so that is also the essence of our life form. So the way I describe prophecy and thing, I'm going to give you another analogy. You all know the sun is out there, right? We all know that for at least for the next 10 billion years while the sun's still burning, every morning you wake up, the sun's going to rise from the west and it's going to set in the east. So in a way, we all prophesy that the sun is going to rise. Okay, so there's apparently no randomness in it, right? So unless some huge asteroid collides in the sun, or whatever, the sun is always going to come up every single day of our lives. So we can prophesy that, and we can literally guarantee that it will show up. So you may say, well, the sun has no free will. Why not? Respect, yeah. But if you look at the sun as a whole, then yeah, the sun is always going to come up. If you look at the planet as a whole and humanity as a whole, then we're going to continue down a certain prophesied path, where it's the prophecy of the Hopi nation, which I described a few weeks ago, or the prophecy of Clydesdale. There is a ordainedness that propels humanity together collectively down this path. So just like the sun will come up every morning, humanity will go down a certain path. Now that path could be extinction or evolution. Like I said to you, is part of that prophecy, okay? But how our free will comes into this, think of a sun. Within that sun, what is that sun made of? That sun is made of a gazillion helium, not helium, but there is helium in there actually, but the main field that fuels the sun is hydrogen. Within each of those suns is countless amount of hydrogen ionized particle, which is what causes the fusion and releases the energy and gives the sun the power and basically life to us here on Earth. Without the sun's energy, there would be no life here on Earth. So it literally is a life-giving energy. But on that scale, individually within the sun are all these individualized quantum particles. So just imagine humanity and the planet is that equivalent of the sun. Within on the planet is each individual one of us. So in this case, right now we have 7.8 billion humans. So each of us humans are equivalent to every hydrogen ionized particle in the sun. But each of those ionized particles follows a random course. So each of those quantum particles can be in one part of the sun or not in part of the sun, can cause fusion or not cause fusion, okay? But whether that one particle behaves in a certain manner does not affect the overallness of the sun's ability to release energy, nor does it prevent the sun from coming up in the morning. But yet each individual quantized particle has its own, quote, free will to decide, no, I don't want to fuse today. I'll fuse tomorrow with another hydrogen particle. Oh, I don't want to fuse ever. I'll wait till the sun dies. Okay, so that is the analogy, is that on the planet of humanity, each of us are that individualized quantum state that we do have a free will. So individually, we like that particle. We can say, well, I want to fuse today, or I want to get off my lazy ass and do something today, like do a Zoom today or not. So we have that individualism, okay? But overall of humanity is still going to charge down this path that is going to go down collectively, just like the sun's going to come up every morning. Now, it is still, the sun is still made up of all that atoms. So collectively, all that particle does affect the sun. Therefore, collectively, just like, you know, people say a butterfly wing can cause butterfly wing in Brazil can cause a hurricane to occur in US. But the similar analogy is that all those particles are needed. So they're the collective particles that are part of this collective that comes up and forms the sun to come up every morning. So just as we are individual humans, we are 7.8 billion. Yeah, individually, we have that free will. And it's collectively, we can make a difference, okay? We can make a difference. So the prophecy of Kleistar does dictate where humanity is going forth, okay? But how we individually go forth in that. Therefore, because I believe in my Kleistar prophecy, of course, have decided based on my free will that I'm going to behave in a certain manner so I can move in a certain way with this collective, with this prophecy. So I can do good. I will not be a racist dumbass. I decided that for myself. I will do good. I will work with an honorable person like Vernon, and we're working on some humongously good things to come. So it's my free will to decide I want to work with Vernon, okay? To move ourselves collectively, our little individual particles with Vernon, with other people, will collectively move down this path which we define for ourselves as a good path to our own salvation. So we will move down this prophecy path. So just like the sun will come up in the morning, we will move down this Kleistar prophecy. But there are some others that may decide, you know what, free will, screw Dr. Ying, screw Vernon, screw Kleistar, screw our collective. I want to go down a different path. That is your free will. Just like there's a particle, atomic hydrogen atom in there that decide, you know what, I'm not going to ever fuse with this sun. Screw it. I'm going to just carry on being a hydrogen, individual hydrogen, and that's fine. That hydrogen can remain forever and ever separated and not fuse into helium. Okay, so that is the analogy that I describe as that, yes, you can have a prophecy, but yes, you can also have a free will, okay? And that free will allow you, the individual, to determine whether you want to be part of that prophecy or you go down a different path. But a prophecy will mandate a certain, just like in a way you could argue the dinosaur didn't really have a chance because the prophecy was that it wasn't a prophecy. It's obviously set in time that an asteroid was going to come hit down 65 million years ago. So the dinosaurs were unaware of this and living happily for 100 million years. But in a way, there's a prophecy that this, because of all the things that's going on, that this asteroid will hit Earth and extinct them. And thankfully for that, because if that didn't happen, then there won't be us human. The mammals won't dominate and there won't be us human. So in a way, that was also prophesied to come. Okay. So I just wanted to go with that subject matter that yes, we all have free will. We can all make our own choices. We can all go down our own destiny. And that's what God do want. God do not just want to make robots or have sand on a beach that has no control and just go up and down with the wave as it is, okay? So it's for each of us to go down our own destined path, based our own free will, okay? You can go down the path of extinction or the path of evolution. You can go down the path of evil or you go down the path of goodness. And I, for one, will go down this path of the Kleistar prophecy with those that want to go down this same path of evolution of goodness that I genuinely sincerely believe I am trotting based on my own free will. So thank you for listening to my message, and I would love to hear Vernon's own free will as to what he's going to do this morning and for the rest of his life, because I know the genius that is this gentleman and the goodness that is this gentleman as well. And that's why I, for my own free will, I determined that I want to work with him, with our collective, on many, many exciting opportunities. So Vernon, anything you want to say to
Definitely. I've been keeping eye on your prophecies and the writings, and I think this is a great time to discuss, some of the questions I have about it. And one of the questions I have is, does Clive Starr predict an actual event, which many prophecies do? Is there an event coming that we need to be aware of, as prophecies are usually about events? So
yes,
is there one?
I mean, well, people obviously said that, well, prophecy, you match it. Well, I predicted in 2018, and you can watch my videos. Actually, I uploaded 2018 Istanbul. So Istanbul in 2018, I was thankfully invited on this Call to World Peace by the Maulana Foundation in Istanbul, in front of thousands from over 40 nations. So 2018, I stated that was my journey to what I term my journey to God. And then I made the prophet. Then I was invited back to the same location because I guess they enjoy my chat. And I made it 2019 that would be my journey of God. So the 2018 was journey to God, and the prime mission. I went to 10 locations. 2019 was my journey of God, which I did the prime solution, which I published from the God book, was all the solutions of what God gave me through a new science, through a new mathematics. But this is the point. Back in 2018, 2019, I made the dramatic prophecy that 2018 would be the journey by God and would be termed the prime directive. There was people that ridiculed me for that. There's people like, oh, prime directive, God is giving commands. God is giving command. God is telling you there's something that will happen in 28. Now, I didn't prophesy that it was the coronavirus, okay? But I did prophesy, and you can watch those videos back. So that way you can say, oh, now you're just saying it. Look at my presentation in 2019. I put up the chart, 2018, 2019, 2020. I said 2020 will be a pivotal year in humanity, and it would be the year of the journey by God. And it will be his prime directive. It will be the moment that people will be forced to listen to the 10 Commandments. I didn't publish 10 Commandments in 2020, by the way, I published in 2015. But that was the moment that basically people took note. And there's people now watching this, paying notice because of what I predicted, but absolutely. No, I'm a mathematician and scientist, so I could calculate the probability. So yeah, it could be coincidence. So to a non-believer, yeah, it's people buy the lottery ticket and 1 in 80 billion chance you win it. So someone wins it. So yeah, it could be, right? So for the non-believer, absolutely. That's the path you want to believe. Like I said, that is what free will means. You are free will to say, Dr. Ying, pardon my English, you're full of crap. I don't believe in prophecy. That is your beautiful free will, okay? So, and then obviously, the other thing I said is if you look at my Klystar, Klystar, I made the prophecy of the path, which obviously relates to my path going down. So you can compare that. And I actually published, if you see on the Facebook, I actually publish every single day, each of the letters and how that matches my previous path. Because obviously I wrote Klystar and all that stuff. But more importantly, I then made the prophecy in reverse, or the letter in reverse, and I prophesied what you term as the events that is coming. So I made those bold predictions. And again, it's actually published. So I don't just say it and wait for something to happen. There's Oh, no, I said, here's public. So just like my prophecy in 2018, 2019 of a dramatic event, the journey by God in 2020. Similarly, I made those predictions of Kleistar for the future. So I'm giving these, quote, what you term as events. Now, I'm not going to cover it because that could take another 2 hours or so. So those that are interested can obviously go back to there or email me and I'll email you the whole. In fact, I published on ResearchGate. So those that knows that I said my academic research. In fact, last time, I think over 3,000 readers now, researchers in the scientific community have read my Kleistar prophecy. So the world is taking notice. So now people are starting to laugh and ridicule, say, wait a minute, Dr. Ying's prophecy did all come true. Hey, Dr. Ying saying, oh, maybe I should be reading it. So I'm pleased that even my fellow scientists, researchers, and it's up to 3,000 reads now. I mean, that's a lot in scientific, by the way. So you're like, well, that's not very big. When it comes to scientific researchers, that's a lot of people, research around the world, taking notice and reading it. So all I'm saying, so you can read on all that. So those future events, as you meant, I have well documented and publish it. And obviously I can send that to you as well. And, I obviously believe that's what's going to happen, and then it's up to each of us individually with our own free will, whether we want to go down this collective path of Kleistar prophecy, or with our own free will, go your own destiny way. Okay, so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I have one other question that I've been curious about in reading your works and also the weekly information bits that you put out. So do you consider the universe to be God? Or is God a conscious, paternalistic, human-like figure that exists in time, always exists, always will exist, the way religious, organizations or religion that we followed from our childhood describe him with a
lot
sun.
Of questions. Yeah. You asked a lot of in-depth questions, which is going to take 10 hours or 10 days or 10 years to answer philosophically, fully that. So I'm just going to answer a few of those questions. So to your first question, yes, I do believe, and I arrogantly state, I prove that God is the entire universe. In fact, I gave God a DNA. So God is actually not a human form. God is actually a bacteria form, a single cellular organism. So you see on the book publication, which I'll go briefly again, God has the 4 DNA code, just like all living organism, where it's a bacteria, a mushroom, you, me, are made up of the DNA or RNA, which is 4 coded. So 4 is the sacred code of all life. So I gave the 4 code. And based on that, I was actually be able to calculate the number quantum state that matches the number baryonic particle. Now, for the physicists out there, do you know what I mean by that? Basically, it means that, yeah, I proved it. Because proof basically means you have a theory, you make a prediction, and if it matches observation, then it's right. If it doesn't match observation, then it's wrong. So that's what I mean by proof. And yes, my 4 definition of the genetic code of God gives precisely the number of baryonic matter in the universe that's measured. That's why I'm arrogantly saying it's correct. So that stating that God is a unicellular organism, which is basically the entire universe. Now, a bacteria happens to have exactly the same enclosed, is a circular cell. It's the most simplistic. Therefore, in the sense that God made human in his image, well, yes, because the image of human, if you believe in evolution, which I do believe, I believe that human came from apes came from amphibian, and amphibian came from a bacteria. So if you believe that, then ultimately we, the human, started life itself as a bacteria. Therefore, if I say to you, God is the ultimate cosmic unicellular, and it created life into an image, well, it did. It created the bacteria. And more miraculously, the way bacteria gives birth is called binary fusion. So a bacteria cell basically splits into 2 and separates, just like that. That's how a bacteria creates itself. But guess what? in my twin universe, that's how the universe began life. Became as a unicellular and then splits into two, which is my twin universe. And from my twin universe is where the scientific prediction that I came up with, which explained dark energy, dark matter, missing antimatter, quantum entanglement. Again, I arrogantly state, because it makes quantitative and qualitative prediction, which can be matched to experimental observation, match consistently, then I arrogantly stated my scientific proof of God is definitively the right answer because it matches observation. It's the only scientific theory which explains all those unknown, and quantitatively and qualitatively is consistent with observation. Okay, so that gives you an underlying premise of what God is. That, to your question, yeah, it is part of the cosmos. And yeah, I define it as a single omnipotent consciousness. So yeah, it has a conscience, it thinks. Okay. So again, I gave the analogy, a bacteria can think as well, but a bacteria is like a computer chip. So like the screen you're watching on now, we say, this is fantastic, it's amazing, it's AI technology can outthink a human, but it's based on a simple transistor that just does nothing more than yes, no. Well, similar, bacteria can only respond to stimuli, move to light, not move to dark, and that's all it does. But in a way, we're made up of all these single cellular organisms. So just like the sophisticated computer you're looking at is made up of just the most simplistic of building blocks of 0 and 1. Well, similarly, we humans are made up of the most simplistic of unicellular organisms that just does 0, 1. So bacteria can only think 0, 1. But obviously we have, trillions of or billions, I've forgotten exactly how many neural cells. So we can think more sophisticated, more complex than what a bacteria. And similar, our computer can show graphics and do that because it has a lot more it has a gazillion number transistors. So it allows it to do more thinking, more consciousness. But ultimately, the biggest supercomputer is the cosmos itself, because it literally contains all these individual particles which interact, which is just like the brain, it interacts. And that is the ultimate consciousness of the cosmos, of the universe, of God. Okay, so like what I said, to give a very, we could literally spend an entire lifetime going down, and I would love to, and I know you're very, very interested, and that's one aspect I would love, and I would love for us to make a movie, video game on God and do all this explanation and get the truth out there. That's the one thing, obviously, I'll be talking to you about as well. So anyway, I obviously I could talk to you on these exciting things for a very, very long time, but I don't want to bore my audience out there. But I'm sure that those that are tuning in are probably, for the reason that they're tuning in, they probably want these answers as well. But obviously, there are more lectures to come, so we'll cover each of these deep thought, which obviously Vernon is thing. But these are exactly the questions that I want to help explain to humanity, so they're aware exactly. But today, specifically, it's focused on our individualism, on our free will to do good or to do evil. And hopefully, what Vernon and I are covered will help people choose their free will to follow the Klein-Star prophecy to goodness. Okay, that is ultimately what our goal is. So for that, Vernon, I thank you for being on board again, and I'll speak to you later on the NFT stuff. Okay, I'm very excited at that. I got to talk to you and Moncur later on that, and aspects of bringing goodness to humanity. So God bless you. God bless all. Stay safe. Love to you all.